Hi everybody.
Hello everyone.
Today we're going to talk about, well, a question that we were given. What would we do if there was not good quality fruit around? Which is a fair question.
Oh yes.
And there's lots of people that live in situations, live in places where there isn't good quality fruit around. But oftentimes, I think if you're living in a city especially, you just got to make more of an effort because you'll always find something. And I mean, I can say for myself personally, I started out on my raw journey, even fruitarian journey, back when I was living in Norway. And a lot of people would use a place like that as an excuse, like the weather is okay for you, you're living in tropical Australia, it's easier for you because you've got an abundance of fruit around you. But, you know, in Bergen, in Norway, there was plenty of fruit for me to have there. So I couldn't, if I used it as an excuse, it was just that, it was an excuse. Because there is plenty of fruit around. But anyway, it's a fair question. If there's an economic crisis and suddenly there's no food in the shops, we have to eat something if we want to stay alive, unless of course we're breatharian, which we're not. So what do we do? Do you want to say something before I continue?
No, you say.
Okay. I think, you know, I have in my book, I've outlined something which I call the ethical food tower. Now, the ethical food tower is not like the traditional food pyramid, which is recommending that you eat meat and eggs and milk and bread and some vegetables, and at the bottom you've got maybe a bit of fruit there if you're lucky. The ethical food tower is about what kind of food you eat which has the least impact on the environment, on the world really, that causes the least harm. And it's so very obvious at the very top of that tower is fruit. Fruit taken directly from the tree causes the least harm. But if there's no fruit around, underneath that you've got like leafy vegetables, especially if you can harvest them gently without killing the whole plant. And we do have some of these kind of foods growing here in the garden, and at times where if there's not going to be enough, frankly I think we would eat them to stay alive if we can't get hold of other things. Obviously if we can get hold of other things, then we prioritize that.
Yes.
But you know, we've got some things like ibeca, sweet leaf, moringa. We've got coconuts growing here too. Now we don't eat coconuts, but if there was nothing else around, to be sure I'd be eating coconuts. So it's not like I feel like I would definitely draw the line with animals and animal products. I'm not going to go out and kill an animal in order to stay alive. I know that we're eternal souls having a physical experience in this world, and I would rather move on with my spirit than destroy or end somebody else's physical experience, which is what you have to do if you kill an animal, because they're spiritual beings also having a physical experience just like we are.
They living
creatures. Well, we recognise actually all plants as living beings in their own right, but I don't think that we can deny, or that anybody can really deny, that there is a difference between animals and plants, and that taking the life of an animal is something which is a lot more serious than pulling up a weed in the garden. Doesn't matter how in tune you are with things, you can't see nobody can kind of say they're the same thing. So we draw the line there. Animal products, I would not eat those, but anything above that I would consider food in times of real hardship.
Okay. Well, I understood the question a little bit differently. I understood what we will do if there is no good quality of fruit. Not like if we need to survive if there is no fruit at all. So this was very good too. This is very good for you.
Yeah.
I just wanna add too, like with the plants, in this situation Mango spoke just about, is if you're sensitive to the plant, you take part of the plant again. Even say grass, you can eat grass, yes? As a child I ate grass a fair bit. So you don't pull the whole grass with the roots out, you just cut it off. So you don't really killing the plant, you just take part of it and it just grows back. So it's still, the grass may not like it. We cut here whole lawn. We have to cut grass here. If we don't, it will be 5 meters tall. It would be snakes everywhere there, and it would be impossible for us to even to grow the trees here, to grow any food. The grass will just fully take over. So, unfortunately, the planet Earth, it's made in a way that if we want to grow even fruit trees, you have to dig the hole, put the seed in, you have to take some weeds out, you have to kill some things in the process, even if you don't want to. To survive on the earth is very difficult, in my books, because that's something which is on my mind for many years, imagining myself how I will live out of nowhere, how I will survive. But this is not the topic really. I just want to add that. I want to talk about what we will do if there is very poor quality of food only around us. We will eat it. I speak for myself. If there is only apples and they may be not really best taste, or if there is only oranges and they really sour, or I don't know how bad fruit can be. Like I had a bad fruit, but if you're hungry, I would eat it. Like I can eat orange, the skin and everything, but excluding the seeds. When we were kids, we were so little fruit, especially tropical fruit in the shops, but altogether the fruit wasn't much. And we used to eat lemon, with skin and everything, because we were just eating straight lemons as kids, because we were so craving those fresh food, fresh fruit. And so I know it's okay to eat it. So I have no problem to even live on one fruit alone, even when it's not taste the best. If I have a fruit, I would eat it. I have no problem with it. I would not say, oh, I wish I could have a durian now. I may think that, but I would never suffer because I don't have a durian. I can take hardship. I can easily take hardship because I went through hardships throughout my life on and off anyway. So I have good training, I may say. I also fasted, not once, not twice, but fair few times during all those years being fruitarian. And that also taught me that I can be say 1 week without food easily. So if I don't have a good quality of fruit, I would eat it and I will do all I can to look for better fruit around me, because I'm not alone in this world. There are other people. My fruit trees are not the only trees in the whole world. There are other people and other trees, and that's what I will do, knowing even if I run out, I still have a week, 2 or 3, even 4 to look for fruit, and I don't have to eat at all, as long as I have a bit of water to drink. And if I don't have even that, I will just drink my beer. Simple as that. So the knowledge for me, to knowing actually what I would do in such a situation, give me great freedom and peace of mind. I don't worry about things. And also it may never even happen, but it's good to know what to do. That's a good question. If there is such a situation, like we started with surviving, actually. So
I think if you're in a situation where there is not good fruit around, then really the best piece of advice we can give is that you move somewhere else. You move somewhere where there is better fruit. Because if you're living out somewhere where all there is to eat is meat and potatoes, and the shops, you know, the most kind of the best thing that you can get to eat is maybe an onion, then you want to go somewhere where you've got more of a choice.
good point.
But I think one common misconception with eating raw food, and I think I even say it myself sometimes, it's good to have an abundance, but you don't need an abundance. You don't need to have a huge variety. You know, there's like a huge distraction of this whole nutritional science when it comes to fruit, but really all of that it's just exactly that. It's a distraction, and you don't need to be focusing on any of that stuff there. So really, you know, I know from myself, from my own experience, Greta too, you only need a very, very small choice of food, and you can get by on it, and you can live day in and day out on the same kind of foods. Of course, it's nice to have different things around available, but it's not a necessity. You know, I could probably survive on tomatoes for months if that was all that there was to eat, or cucumbers.
Or watermelon, whatever it is.
Watermelon,
just
exactly.
one kind of fruit. We both like that fruit, no problem. I used to travel before around Australia, living mainly for a long period of time on watermelons and bananas. You know, we bought on the road from people's gardens and stuff like this, people selling in the stores. And I have no problem with it. I'm happy, I have a fruit, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And in a real life, people, they eat what they're addicted to. So some people, they like KFC, so they go only KFC, they don't give a damn about McDonald's. People who go to McDonald's, they don't go to KFC. I know those people, those addicts. You know, I talk to people in this world, I live in this world, I know what they do. And it's true that you have a pizza people, they just keep ordering only pizza from either Domino or Pizza Hut, otherwise it's no go. And so this is all addiction and a brainwash together, you know, make you worry about things which have nothing inside to worry about.
That's very true.
You know.
The world is full of distraction, the world is full of misdirection, really full of misdirection. So yeah, just be aware and ask yourself the right questions. And once you feel comfortable with what you're doing, you'll manage no matter how it is. And if you don't manage, hey, you're a spiritual being having a physical experience.
Yeah.
And this is not the be-all and end-all, this life here where you're stuck to this little ego that you're stuck to. It's not it.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I fully agree to move. You know, if anything in your life is not satisfactory to you, and you can change it, why don't you? You know, realize that you have that power to change it. Look, I was born in a country, very negative, communism, dark, grey, you know. I met people here who told me they visit that country during the communism, and it made them cry what they seen in there, you know. And when I come 4 years after escape, after revolution happened, the wall went down, 4 years later I went visit my family, and when I went out of the train in this city I was born and I walked through it, I was saying to myself, I can't believe I grew up in here. I can't believe I was born in here, you know. but I didn't put up with it. I like sunshine, I like warm, I didn't like the system, I didn't like the people, how they were thinking. So I just moved on. I was risking my life then, but I didn't care. I thought myself I'd rather die than live in this. My life doesn't have real value anyway. So if you see your life somewhere doesn't have a value, move on, and don't say to yourself it's impossible, because if you really want it, it is possible. And if you really want it, and if you do it for a good cause, there is a, call it God, call it universe, call it whatever you want, there is an energy who is on your side and also have a power to do things for you. You know, when things just happen for you sometimes, that's what I'm talking about. And that's what happened to us.
Everything happens for a reason, even though it may take us our whole lives to understand the reason for each moment. Everything happens for a reason. And yeah, seize the moment. Carpe diem. Yeah. Anyway, I think we've answered the question.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And if not, just let us know what more you would like to hear about this.
Yeah.
And we actually got some more ideas as we go.
Yeah.
We want to talk about it. We're getting a few more questions. We have a long list now. So just be patient. We will, with the time, answer all your questions. If we're still here. If we don't leave the planet, we will tell you what we know and share it with you.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that we are getting really nice comments, and our community on the YouTube is growing, and I'm really thankful and happy. You know, we can't see you, you can see us, but I'm very aware you are there. There are people who are watching us, there are people who may criticize us, but we don't get much that yet, but we get a lot of beautiful comments, and we are very grateful and happy for it, that you can see things we see as well, and you have an interest and you want to learn and grow, or just enjoy that. Thank you.
Ciao everybody.
And don't forget about love. Love is all we need, okay? So, love you and leave you. Bye.